I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered. And if you've been listening to me before, and I'm not talking about my radio show Prescription for Your Transformation, but the podcast, the Doctor's Guide. And in this, what we're doing is that when you think about it, you may be challenged with some sort of health issue, maybe yourself, maybe somebody else, and you're concerned and dutifully as well. And so the question is, what kind of resolution do you have for that? And do you actually know where to look? And that's a big challenge today because there's so much information on the internet. And who do you trust? What's reliable? And does your own doctor have all the answers? And I grant you that they don't, which is unfortunate, but it's also our reality. And so that's why I propose that as listeners, it's up to you to do the right research, to find out the right information, to listen to the reliable sources so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. But here's the challenge. There is so much out there to filter. So that's our job with all these incredible guests that I have on this podcast to help guide you to the right resolution, to the right solution for your own health challenge. And so how do we get to do that? Well, we do that through role playing. So we're not going to promote a specific product or a person, except for the fact that these are amazing individuals on these podcasts, and you're certainly going to want to check in with them. But what we're sharing with you is a process by which you can make the right decision for yourself. And through role playing, so Quintus is going to start today with a specific problem. Dr. Stephanie will guide him to somewhat of a resolution. We only have 6 minutes for that. So understand that, we're not going to resolve it, but listen to the process by which, we can solve these problems. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of unpack it for about 10 minutes. And the idea is that you get a specific insight and an action step that you can take for yourself. So I'd love to introduce Quintus and Dr. Stephanie, but we'll start off with Quintus, who he is, what he does, and then we'll go with Dr. Stephanie. Then we'll dive into the specific roles, and then we'll do the role play. Quintus, thank you so much for being here today. We've already had an amazing interview in my other radio show, but love to hear from the audience who you are, what you do.
Hello, Dr. Bart. Thank you so much for having me on here today. Did have a wonderful time on the radio show as well. So super excited about this podcast and the opportunity that lies before us. I am Quintus McDonald. I'm hailing from Raleigh, North Carolina. The executive director of I Am Recycling Incorporated, a 501c3 founded to put an end to recidivism, quite frankly. And how we go about that is through education of the individuals within communities that we embrace, and then economically empowering the people that we have helped to educate them first about their importance, their worth, and helping them to find hope. So that, along with being a serial entrepreneur, have invested in multiple companies, very much on the wellness spectrum. That's me.
And I love everything that you're doing. And I certainly love the products that you're working on, which we'll touch into a little bit later on so that people can find out the magic that you offer all of us. So thank you for that, Quintus. Dr. Stephanie, welcome to this podcast. A little bit about yourself, and then we'll start the role play.
Thank you, Dr. Bart, for having me, and Quintus for sharing this opportunity. First of all, I'd like to say, Dr. Bart, your app is amazing. So I've been playing with it.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. And I am Dr. Stephanie. I'm a doctor of naturopathy and a wellness coach for women. I've been in practice for going on 19 years now. And my specialty is helping women or people who are interested in natural wellness to understand that there's a spirit, mind, and body connection to what ails them. And I help them integrate the two through speaking, through coaching, through my online courses, and I'm also an author. And so my quest is to help all people connect with themselves to be healthy, especially, I have to make this plug, athletes. And we can talk about that in another section.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I love what you're doing. We need more people like yourself, because not only are you a naturopath, but you're also a health coach, and it's a lovely combination as well. And actually, for those who have never, heard me before, I'm actually a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, but absolutely into what I call the brain intelligence, and that's, coaching basically, but also the energy intelligence. And that's, what Dr. Stephanie was saying, the spirit, because all that combined makes a huge difference. And I love that we have individuals like yourselves on the show talking about all that. So let's talk about the role. So what role are you playing today, Quintus?
I'm going to play a retired professional athlete who is struggling to get some strength back on this beat up old body.
Great, awesome. And then I'm assuming, Dr. Stephanie, you're going to be the naturopath and coach at the same time, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go for it. We've got 6 minutes for that. I'll give you 1 minute warning before we need to end, and then we're going to unpack all of that. Quintus, you got the mic.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dr. Bart. Hello, Dr. Stephanie. How are you today?
Wonderful. Hi, Quintus. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, it's nice to be here. I'm so grateful that Dr. Bart suggested I give you a call. I spoke with him at length about some issues that I'm going through. I decided to get back into the gym. I really want to extend my life for various reasons. You see former NFL players, dying at a very young age on a regular basis. And when I began to work out again, the strength just isn't there. My recovery takes probably 2 days before I'm really able to get motivated to get back in the gym. And I wanted to reach out to you and see if there was any way that you could point me in the right direction or give me some feedback as to some things that I might be able to do to help.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to ask you some very key questions to get to the kind of understand what the problem is. So number one, what does your diet look like? What are you eating? What are you doing to fuel your body?
Well, I eat pretty well. I'm not a very big meat eater. We don't eat a lot of meat here in the home. We don't eat a lot of fried food. I probably eat beef 3 times, 4 times a month. We eat more chicken when we do eat meat, maybe once a week with chicken, a lot of vegetables. My fruit intake has dropped off tremendously. I used to eat a lot of fruit. I have not been eating a lot of fruit lately. So that's pretty much, I'm not vegan. We do eat cheese and dairy and those things. So that has been the norm, and it flows. It ebbs and flows. I'm not, so there'll be months I might eat pork once a month, maybe once a month, and then there'll be a month where, depending on where I've traveled to, I may eat pork 3 times a week. So it varies.
I understand. And the next question I'd have to ask is, how would you rate your digestion? Gas, bloating, and indigestion, is any of that going on?
No, no, no gas, bloating, and indigestion. No.
Okay, here's a personal question. Are you evacuating, having a good bowel movement every morning?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you feel completely evacuated afterwards?
I do, actually. I do.
Good.
I'm a once a day kind of guy. Pretty regular.
Good. So let's get into your workout. You're saying you don't have the strength. Are you not having the strength to work out, or is your recovery time slow? So you have the capacity for your reps and sets, but what about your recovery? You said your recovery was a little iffy. Give me that balance.
Yeah, I'll work out with weights probably 3 times a week. I do far less reps and less sets. What I have switched to doing less weight, higher repetitions.
You're trying to shred.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to shred.
Yeah.
I've got a goal. I absolutely have a goal. By my birthday, I will be 270 pounds.
Got it.
For sure.
Okay.
So that's the idea there.
Okay. So thank you for giving me that insight. That helps me formulate a picture of understanding of what potentially could be going on. Now, one of the things I want to bring to your attention is you have to recognize that the things that you did to condition and strengthen your body when you were younger are not necessarily the same things that you're going to do when you're older. And I'll tell you why. When you eat food, your body is supposed to break down the food to its macronutrients so you can get out all the good stuff. And the reason why I was asking about your digestion is because even though you tell me you have a good diet, there's no way of really knowing if you're actually getting those nutrients in. And it's those nutrients that would help your body machine do the work. Right. And so if your recovery time is slow, or you find that you're having some strength issues, that tells me that maybe your diet might not be adequate and you might not be getting the nutrients that you need to do that additional work. So here's another question. How is your stress levels? How is your stress? Are you managing your stress?
The gym time, the walking, these things are really, ways and tools that I use to manage stress more so than, trying to get strong. I just don't like that my recovery takes longer. And every now and then, periodically, I'll need a long extended nap in the middle of the day.
Okay, so the reason why I asked you that question is because your stress has a lot to do with the capacity of your adrenal function. And your adrenal gland has two, I'm not going to get too technical. Imagine a peach, right? The outside of the peach is the part that you bite, and that's how your body regulates water and salt. Right? The inside of the peach is a seed, is where your body regulates hormone production. So strength and hormone production have a lot to do with each other, which would also tie into your stress levels. So if you're stressed out, your adrenal gland is overexhausted, then you're not going to be able to recover, because your recovery is tied into those hormones that are inside the seed of the the adrenal gland, right? And so we're looking at several different things. We're looking at nutrition stores, nutritional capacity to do the work that your body is you're asking your body to do and recover with. And we're also saying, are you experiencing stress to the degree that it's impacting your hormonal production that allows you to do strength stuff? Hopefully that doesn't sound a little too complicated, but let's break it down a little bit more. If I were to assess this specifically to know exactly what's happening with you metabolically, I would take some hair and I would send it to the lab and look at your biochemistry. That would tell me whether you have a good diet, because it will formulate a diet for you. It would tell me which minerals are out of balance that might be creating this problem. And it would also give you the proper nutrients in order for your body to recover. That's the overall picture. So you always want to look at, okay, if I'm eating a good diet, how do I know for sure? Because what you think is a good diet might not be good for you, because you don't know what's going on inside. So the mystery to this issue is you don't know what you don't know, but we can find out a whole bunch of information by just taking some hair and sending it to the lab. How does that sound for you?
Well, it's outstanding. I've got plenty of hair. I won't miss a strand. I say let's do it. I'd love to see the results.
We have 1 minute left.
Wonderful.
We have 1 minute left.
Okay. Any other questions you'd like to ask me before we close out?
What can I do as a stress reliever besides the gym? I mean, the walking, the boxing, the this and the that, the physical activity. What would you suggest as a stress relief?
One thing that I would suggest as a stress reliever is to do something called spiritual writing. Spiritual writing is when you take pen to paper and just let your spirit do the talking. And when you go back and read it, you go, who the hell wrote that? The reason why I say that is because you have a lot of subconscious thoughts playing around in your head that's overloading your energy field, creating this subconscious or this energetic blockage, what will rob you of your physical energy. And the first way that I would say get that out is to write it out. And then read it out loud. You might burn it after that, you might bury it, but you need to get this energy away from you. And the only way to do it is allow your spirit to speak, or your intuitive self, your higher self, to speak through a pen and paper. And I think you'll find a huge relief of stress, because you might find that things are coming out that you didn't even know were bothering you. And that is a huge spiritual, energetically, and physical lifter. Works wonders.
I love it. Excellent, excellent. So thank you both. That was amazing. I learned some new things, by the way, so that's always exciting for me. So I first like to ask Quintus, just briefly, what was that for you? What was that like for you as showing up with a problem like this?
Well, it was interesting and enlightening because I was able to throw some real truths in there along with the role play. So and the real truth was that, you know, every now and then I'll have a day after, you know, probably once or twice a month where I need some extra rest. So, and then receiving that feedback was tremendous. So it was excellent for me.
Awesome. And Dr. Stephanie, what was that like for you as the health coach? You know, what came up for you?
For me is the realization that the 19 years of experience really does help, because when I speak to a person, I can conceptualize the whole story just by asking some questions and being able to give information that's insightful but not too clinical. You know, that's important because I want what I share to be applicable, or there to be some compliance. And I hopefully that I gave you some insight that you can comply with and be, oh, okay, this is what I can do without. And also learn something that, you know, stress factors with your adrenal exhaustion is real. And if you tax your body beyond what it can do, it's hard to recover. And so that's something that needs to be addressed nutritionally. And that's why I kind of brought that in, so you understand that this is something beyond what you think you can do on your own.
I love it. And we're going to unpack it some more. And I'd just like to share right now, you said some very key words for all our listeners to know. You know, first of all, it's compliance, right? And what does that really mean? Well, we actually have to make it easy for people to be successful, because making something easy successful, or making success easy leads to more success. And it also requires an understanding, and in simple terms as well. So I like the fact that you like to keep things simple. I like to do the same. Maybe it's because I don't quite understand it all. But I think Einstein said, if you can't explain something simply, then you don't actually understand what it is that you're talking about. And so many of my doctor colleagues make it way too complicated. Not that they don't understand it, but their patients don't. And so then there's all this lack of compliance. And two things I want to share, and we can, you know, dissect it even more. But number one, and I hear this all the time, you know, when I ask the same question that you first asked, Dr. Stephanie, is how's your diet? And everybody has a great diet, when in fact they don't. And one of the key things that I've also discovered, and you alluded to something really important as well, is the assimilation of the nutrients that you're digesting. And oftentimes people can't do that. And one of the key things that is lacking is the absorption of the right, you know, protein or amino acid mix. And so when you're consuming these, you know, protein shakes, you might think that you're consuming the right thing, when in fact you're not. So these are elements that, you know, certainly with your studies, which I love that you mentioned that, you know, for us to, as practitioners, as guides, to help anybody, we need the data. And so I'd like you to speak about anything that you want to expand on what we talked about today. Same thing with you, Quintus. And also, I love the fact that journaling scientifically has proven to help with anxiety. So whatever you want to share, Quintus, anything you want to add to any of that?
I love the piece about journaling as well. There's absolutely no doubt that it's a cleansing tool. It's something that in my coaching I use with the men that I work with on a regular basis. We don't necessarily call it journaling. We call it taking an inventory, but it's essentially the same thing. So I know the worth of it. I have not put pen to paper and done it in quite some time. I'll do random checks throughout the day. When I start to feel like my anxiety is beginning to rise, I'll push back and sit back, not push back, but I'll sit back and begin to take an inventory of what's going on, to find out where that anxiety is coming from, and be able to release that. So 100%, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I like the fact too, when you're journaling, you're also asking questions, and your unconscious mind likes to honor those questions. And so the quality of life is the quality of questions. I learned that from Tony Robbins. And so if you ask a lousy question like, why am I so fat? Or why am I so tired? Or why am I so useless? Well, your brain is going to answer that. So the best thing is to ask the right kinds of questions. And I see Dr. Stephanie nodding, that's really, really important. But yes, absolutely, journaling or taking inventory, however you want to talk about it, allows your brain to really process in a much better way. Dr. Stephanie, what else would you like to add with anything that we already talked about?
To piggyback on the concept of taking inventory, doing an emotional, spiritual self-check is really critical to understanding who you are as an individual. And if we took the time to stop and pause before we took action, we would realize that our life would get so much easier because we're not being reactionary, we're being at pause. And you can do this in terms of your diet. So when a person says, I have a great diet, I eat broccoli, I eat cabbage, I eat kale, my question would be, when you eat something, do an inventory of how it makes you feel 20 minutes later, right? And I always say, if your cells are bumping together, your body was like, yes, I could use that. Right? But if you ate something and you feel sluggish and tired, regardless of what you think it is, your body is telling you, hey, wait a minute, that didn't resonate with me. I can't assimilate that. I can't use it. So when you think you have a good diet, check it out by using that little technique. I'll give you a clue, and this will be, a lot of women come to me and they say, I have cold hands and feet. I'm always cold. My skin is dry. And I'm thinking, okay, so what do you eat? They say, I eat broccoli, I eat cabbage, I eat kale, I eat all of my green leafies. And I'm thinking, oh, those foods have a lot of calcium. And if you're not assimilating calcium properly, it stays in your tissues. And it will cause your thyroid gland to slow down, your metabolic furnace, and you will start to get cold. So when you check on those symptoms and you can quickly go, oh, maybe my diet isn't right. If your bowels are not working properly, maybe my diet isn't working right. So we can do these checks and balances. And I think it's so important that we do that. The other thing that I wanted to add was the energetic piece. When you're writing and journaling, it also gives you an indication of whether what you're feeling is actually yours. Just because you have an emotional experience, or you feel tired, or you feel frustrated, or you feel angry, it may not be your energy. It could be the environment that you're in and you're picking it up. So when you journal, you can make that distinction. Hey, wait a minute, that's not even my stuff. So we have more autonomy to keep ourselves healthy, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, if we just take a pause and not be reactive, but be proactive and just ask the question, check in. How am I feeling? How does this make me feel? How is this environment? What's going on? It takes a few seconds, and then it takes another few seconds to make the shift. That also reduces stress, Quintus.
Can I, Dr. Bart?
Yes.
That is absolutely perfect. The thing that I bring to the men that I work with coming out of, or even going into, is three P's. We pause, we pray, and then we pivot. And in that prayer, we're internalizing and taking in what's going on from the inventory or from the journaling. And then we pivot and make the right decision to go on from there. So this is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And I've seen in myself, so many times when I took that pause, and sometimes the pause is not just a few seconds, it might actually be a few days, right? And then you recognize that you are much more empowered to, as you're making the right decisions. Because the truth is this, is that with great power comes great responsibility. So responsibility, we have the ability to choose how we respond. And Viktor Frankl, the man's search for meaning, he was a Jew in one of the concentration camps. He was one of the fathers of neuropsychology in Austria. And in his book, it says the last freedom that we have is the ability to choose in any given situation. And truthfully, it's not always that easy. We're emotional beings. We see our life with emotions. But there's a little trick, besides the three P's I'm going to add, and that's the XYZ. And the XYZ is, when X happens, I feel Y and I need Z. And so when you can journal it, you can think it through. So when a situation happens, Because here's the thing, we are not our behaviors, and it's never about the event itself, but it's the meaning that we give an event. So that's the X, right? When X happens, I feel Y. So I'm crushed, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm agitated. But if you're smart, you can add in this word of being curious. And that curiosity allows you to have a better meaning and a better way to pivot. So I like what you both have said. Very insightful, by the way. And for those listeners, again, adrenal fatigue is a big issue these days. And we live in a toxic world and so much stress. Mindfulness is a big way to help solve any of that. So any last comments before we wrap it up with finding out more about each of you? Any last comments from either one of you?
I have a last comment, if you don't mind. You
Absolutely.
said the Viktor Frankl's X, Y, and Z. And Quintus, you have your 3 Ps, and I have my 3 Rs. My 3 Rs is reflect. Reflect says reflect on the emotion that you're experiencing. Reframe it. Look at it. You're looking at it from a child's lens if it's causing suffering, but because you're an adult, you have other perspectives and you can shift and choose to look at it differently. When you do, you go, that's the renewal of your emotional and spiritual energy. Reflect, reframe, renew.
Renew. I like that one. And what were the 3 Ps again, Quintus?
Pause, pray, and pivot.
Pivot. So now you got it. You got the 3 Rs, the 3 Ps, and the XYZ. So as we wrap it up, Quintus, share with us a little bit more about yourself, what you do. I want to have you share how people get a hold of you, and also in particular, this amazing product that you have for women.
Okay, outstanding. Well, I can be reached on all social media, Quintus McDonald, Quintus MC, capital DONALD. The executive director at I Am Recycling Incorporated. You can find us at www.i-am-recycling.org. And the incredible wellness product that my team and I put together is the brand is Reid. Reid Premium Sanitary Napkins. Jewel Premium Sanitary Napkins is LLC is where you'll find us in the Better Business Bureau, as well as 6 Star, the number 6 STAR distributors. We are doing tremendous things around the world. A 4-year-old company with more than 65,000 subscribers to date, and really, really excited about these next steps in our progression.
And for those out there, we live in a toxic world. We are exposed to anywhere between 700,000 to 2 million exposures every single day, depending on who you read. And particularly women with the 129 products that they typically use daily, so many exposures there. And one area is the feminine, hygiene products, and what Quintus has. He's very humble about it, but it's an amazing natural product without chemicals. Yes. And I think that's really important. That's one of the main things that I promote as well, how to be as natural as possible. So check him out if you're a woman, for sure. If you're a man and you love your woman, for sure, check it out too, because and I still have to order mine.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Bart, you can order your products at www.rec5.jewelpads, JEWELPADS.com. That is our customer site. And in ordering from that site, you will also be supporting the 501c3, our youth programs at I Am Recycling, which that's the REC is for recycling. The 5 is for grace. We're all under grace. So recycling5.jewelpads.com. And yes, we are 100% toxin free, and we're well over 90% biodegradable as well, which you won't find in our space. So toxin free, biodegradable, ultra comfortable, super absorbent feminine hygiene products coming to you from Reid.
And all under the umbrella of conscious capitalism. Thank you so much. Yeah. Dr. Stephanie, a little bit about yourself, how people get a hold of you.
Well, you can get a hold of me and all social media, Dr. Stephanie Reid. My website is drstephanieyhp.com, and my practice is called Your Healing Place. So that's another way you can find me. I'm also a naturopath, and like Quintus, you're interested in making sure that people don't have toxins in their system. I give them a resource to get the toxins out. So if you want to find out how to get the toxins out of your body, I can send your hair to the lab, look at your biochemistry, see what you've been exposed to, the lead, the mercury, the arsenic, and all those other things that go bump in the night that make you sick. And you can't figure out why you're sick because we find the hidden element that's creating the root cause of the problem. So that's one benefit of connecting with me as a naturopath. But I'm also a wellness coach for women. I recognize that women over 40 have a high percentage of health problems because there's an accumulation of an emotional, spiritual, and physical manifestations that they have never dealt with. And at this time in their life, everybody wants to call it menopause, but it's not necessarily menopause. It's an accumulation of all of those things. And so as a coach for women, I offer one-on-one coaching. I offer also online courses so you can do self-paced stuff. But I'm also the author of two very important books. One book is called From Panic to Empowerment: How to Stop Pain and Disease from Taking Over Your Life by Connecting what? Spirit, mind, and body. You can find those on Amazon. And the second From Panic to Empowerment book is for women who've lost babies and they're silently suffering the loss and grief of a child. That alone will cause physiological and emotional manifestations that will show up as stress cardiomyopathy. It will show up as kidney problems. It will show up as reproductive problems because energetically you haven't released the grief. So I've created a course surrounding that, and the book From Panic to Empowerment: How to Embrace an Angel When You Expected a Baby. And I'm able to do all of these things because I've experienced all these things. So not only am I a naturopath and a wellness coach, but I'm also someone who understands these issues from an experiential place. So you're not just getting a clinical person who's read all these textbooks and been in school for 16 years. I've lived some of these horrible traumas and tragedies and have been able to overcome them to not only survive them, but thrive. So my real passion is to help women over 40 thrive and live their best life. You know, in a few short years, I'll be 60, and I want to be able to say that I have like 40, 50 more years left, right? So
that is
that's
so
what I like
awesome.
to bring for other women.
And I wouldn't say that you're a day older than 35. So you're doing really well in all the things. And you're absolutely right. Those that have the experience are oftentimes the best teachers, especially once they've overcome those challenges. Well, I want to thank you both. But before we leave, I'll give one final statement, but I'm going to ask Quintus any final statement that you'd like to share, and then Dr. Stephanie, and then I'll wrap it up myself. Quintus, any final statement that you'd like to share?
I'd just like to say thank you, Dr. Bart, for having the foresight to put together this type of a game show. I mean, we call it a podcast, but it's so much more than that. This intimate space where people can, professionals can come to explore and be ourselves and introduce the world to really who we are as an individual and what gifts we have to give back to the kingdom here on earth. So I'm very, very appreciative of you, sir. Thank you. And Dr. Stephanie, thank you for agreeing to come and be here with us on today.
No, thank you so much. And she had no idea what she signed up for. And I'm so glad she had the faith in you, which I have as well, by the way, to be on the show as well. But thank you for those words. And that's exactly, your 5 levels of listening understands the purpose of this show. And that is much more in this millennium. What is the purpose? Businesses today are much more looking at purpose. And this is a great purpose to be behind, because if we can elevate the vibration for everyone, because it's so important, making it easy, making it accessible, making it affordable for everyone to have optimum health is what it's all about. And not knocking down any kind of medical system that we have. The fact of the matter is there are so many wonderful people like both of you that can guide, and there are many solutions out there available to everyone. And that's my purpose and that's my passion. Dr. Stephanie, any last comment that you want to share?
Gratitude. I am so filled with gratitude, and I'm learning to be to allow it to flow in every experience, even in such a wonderful experience as this. I'm grateful to be able to, you know, have friendship with Quintus and meet you, Dr. Bart, and Tanya, meeting you too. Your beautiful face, you popped in and popped out. This energy that we're creating is palpable, and it should be spread to the masses. And so I'm grateful to be a part of such a wonderful experience, that it feeds to what my calling is asking me to do. So this is kind of like the ripple effect of when you do good things. So my heart is feeling really good. I'm really grateful to be here. And hopefully we've done some good, and somebody's heard something to go, aha, I needed to hear that. So gratitude.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stephanie, for those beautiful words. And here's the truth for all the listeners out there. The solutions are there. The guides are there. And as you relate to their stories, and any of the stories on this podcast, whether they're actually real to the person or they're very relatable, is what's really important, because it's that relatability that allows us to understand that we're not alone. It's not odd that we have this, that we have our inside voices, that we want to make our outside voices so that people can actually hear what's going on, and that we have the conversations that we need to have, because oftentimes we don't. And the best part I like about this is experiencing the authentic individuals and their authentic souls, so that you can also reach out to them for your help. And that is my biggest hope, that you do indeed do that. So once again, Quintus and Dr. Stephanie, thank you so much. I am Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide, Raw and Unfiltered. And we will be back with some more with both Dr. Stephanie and Quintus in a future podcast. Thank you so much.